Hey, how's it going? So in today's video, I just kind of want to talk about my incredibly unstructured art process. I mean, I would start out with the sketches and the references that I use. So a lot of where I find references tend to be just either people I know or people on social media, people on Instagram, whatever, that have interesting features that I like. So I'll typically use like a reference photo or screenshot of a video, something like that. And I go out of my way not to make it like identical. I'm not trying to make a portrait, like an exact portrait of the person. Usually I really like the lighting in this photo. I like the shape of their eyes. I like the angle of their face. And I take it and kind of run with it. So, most of my sketches, like I said, come from like vague reference or multiple references, and I just use a little here, a little there. I used to use one of my good friends as a regular reference for my paintings, and even though they weren't exact recreations of what she looks like, they weren't exact portraiture of her, a lot of my sketches, paintings, drawings, whatever, started to kind of have a similarity about them because I was using the exact same reference. So I choose from a variety of people. Like I said, I just make sure that I'm not making an exact copy of that person's features, unless, the art is specifically meant to be a portrait. I do sometimes have favorite models. Usually they're people who pose for or do some sort of modeling for life drawing or things like that. There are a lot of resources, a lot of people who post on Patreon or other social media that I follow that pose specifically for artists, which means that their lighting tends to be more dramatic. They tend to have more dynamic poses. Not that this has any kind of dynamic posing, it's just a face. But there are resources that are specifically for artists. That's not a limitation, though. I mean, you can use anything. I certainly do. So I'm using a lot of pink in this particular painting. I didn't go out of my way to pick these colors. I didn't decide, I'm feeling pink today. What actually happened is I had a lot of pink left over from a previous painting. I like to use the colors left on my palette. I try not to, I've mentioned this in a previous video, I try not to waste paint, and using gouache allows me to kind of come back to a palette. So I'll try to come back and use the same colors that I've been using to clear them off my palette before I just wipe them away or rinse them or whatever. I'm usually working with a couple of different palettes, so it's not like I'm stuck with just one color set. I can swap it out and use different colors on another palette, or just use new colors completely. But I like to kind of challenge myself and use what I've got going for me. This painting is primarily, I'm using the Arteza gouache paints. I know that they're a relatively cheap set. They're nicer, better sets. This is a sketchbook. I'm not doing anything super fancy, and they work really well. I'm really happy with how they work, but I'm using mostly the rose, blush pink, wineberry, and mauve, and the background is stone blue, and I'm mixing those. I think I'm also using a violet in some of this, but I'm mixing those colors together and just kind of using them with a little black and white here or there. I don't have a specific plan for most of these paintings. I'm just kind of going in and trying to keep it light and have fun with it and explore a little bit. Unless I've got like a larger painting or a larger idea, I kind of like to just go with the flow. See what I like, see what I don't like, and make changes as I go. I used to struggle with making, I guess, what I perceived as like mistakes, and then going in and thinking that, oh, if I go and fix this, I might mess something else up, and then I'll just make it worse. I don't do that anymore. If I don't like something, I just paint over it and try it again. Because the reality is that if I'm not liking how it looks, it doesn't matter how good the rest of the painting looks. I'm only going to fixate on that one spot that I don't like. And that is something that I'm really enjoying about just painting in a sketchbook, is there's none of that expectation that like, okay, well, this is going to be finished a certain way, this is going to be refined a certain way, and I'm kind of getting to just go in and paint over anything I don't like and not stress about the final result. This is all just practice. This is just fun. This is something I'm doing for me. So I'm trying to be brave enough to go in and paint over whatever I don't like and just start again if I need to. I feel like saying it's a mistake, just paint over it and move on feels and sounds a little bit abrupt. That's something that I have to do for me. I can worry over things and get stuck. So I do my best not to get stuck. So I just kind of take the steps that'll help keep me moving forward. And that's just another one of those beautiful things about gouache, is that it dries completely flat. It's like, unlike with acrylic, where if you make a mistake or you go over something a little bit too thick, depending on the kind of acrylic paint that you're using and how dense it is, there's always brush strokes left behind. There's little tiny streaks. Gouache is flat. It's flat and matte. So if you go back over something, there's just so much less evidence that there was something you didn't like underneath the paint. I find it to be a really forgiving medium. Usually when I'm working on a painting, it takes a little while for me to like it. Like, I'm always enjoying the process, and I'm always striving to work to like what it looks like, if that makes any sense. I feel like with this one in particular, the pinks are just so vibrant, and her eyes, in my opinion, really popped from like the very beginning. I think I really enjoyed painting this because I enjoyed looking at it every step of the way. I know she went through a little bit of an ugly phase, but I felt like every step of this painting looked kind of how I wanted it to. I definitely had a little bit of cleanup that I did on like her collarbone and chest area, but I was really thrilled from like the very beginning, from the very like outline of the shadow on her nose and her eyebrows and how bright her eyes are. I kept her hair really, really simple, and I did kind of a hazy line that I allowed the outline of her hair to bleed into the white of the background. I don't know how obvious it is in the video, but I just had a lot of fun, and I really like how this one looks. I think that there are things that, could be a little better, but overall, I don't know. I really enjoyed painting it. I feel like going through the process of filming myself paint and then watching it, creating a time lapse, and then doing a voice recording, I'm kind of appreciating the process and my work a lot more than I did before. I think it's pretty normal to not always look at your own work and be like, wow, I think it looks pretty good. Maybe it is. I don't know. It's not for me. I've been able to be a little bit more objective about what my work looks like. So I've been able to look at it with the same kind of distance that it usually takes me a few weeks to a couple of months to get before I can look back at a painting and take an objective look at like, oh, this is pretty good, or this is really interesting to look at. And I'm able to see that a lot sooner going through this whole process, because I have to separate myself from the painting and from how I feel about it in order to do the edits and then post so that you can all look at it and be part of it as well. So I think this is a really excellent way to maybe get out of your own head if you're struggling with being objective about your own work. Maybe try filming it. Even if you don't want to put it on YouTube or some other social media, maybe try filming it and look back over it. I'm really finding this to be a really therapeutic process. And I was not expecting that. I was expecting this just to be super hard. And there are parts of it that it is difficult to put your work out there and wait and see how people react to it. But if you've been a working artist, that's just kind of part and parcel of working as an artist. But it's a little bit different, and it's very exciting. And I'm looking forward to continuing to do this, because I feel like this process is making me a better artist because I'm able to be more objective sooner, and it's really cool. That's all I have to say about that. Well, I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope to see you with the next one. Bye, guys.